Welcome to the motherland.
Luanda, Angola. Here I am.
Hey, Mangula. Hey, Mangole. Hey, Mangula. Pra isto foi o guerrilheiro que passou as festas lá na mata. Foi o guerrilheiro que passou o Natal na mata, o Ano Novo lá na mata, o Carnaval foi lá na mata, para libertar o seu povo. Este é o preço da revolução. Ei, Mangula, ei, Mangolê, ei, Mangula, guerrilheiro.
Yeah. It's our mother. How are you feeling, Pops?
Very spiritually connected.
She's our mother, man. She's one of our great. She's out here with us today.
Absolutely.
Telling us the mission hasn't complete. She passed the torch to you, to us, to all of us, man. That's what we're doing. Brought tear in our eyes every time we're coming up here, knowing that she's here. And then she's telling us like you brought our ancestor with you. That's what she's saying. So that's why it's such an amazing, man, for you to just be here, experience your roots.
Absolutely.
And she's definitely right here. We can't let our spirit die. We have to keep her spirit alive. And with the work that you've been doing, Wake Up Foundation, made me realize that we're not alone. We got soldiers worldwide, and man, it's such an emotional time.
It is such emotional
for you to be here. Touch our mother, man, the Queen of Africa, one of our queens, one of our mother of all black people. If you never experienced before, you have to come to Angola, man. That's where Queen Zinga was born. Even though the white men trying to destroy our legacy, but we still keep her legacy alive. Right here with Wake Up Foundation. So let you know that one of our elder, he brought all of our ancestors that left. He brought them with you to see the Queen Zinga.
Yes.
And that's what the elder, the chief was saying in the village, like you brought the elders with you. All the elders that left, you brought them with you. And then I thought about, I was thinking about like, you the youngest one, but you became one of the elders in that room, in that spiritual gathering with the elders, man, in our village. It was so great. And for those out there who never experienced this movement, man, you gotta really reach out, understanding that we're not just doing for fame, we're not doing to be seen, but we're doing because we understand that all of our brothers are left, all of our soldiers, all of our rebels, all of our great soldiers are left. They now Sankofa 19. They're returning back home.
Sankofa 19, returning. Sankofa 19, returning.
Exactly, returning to claim what is ours. And to make
All right, Shalom. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahshua. I want to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, because that's where I learned this truth from, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahshua. Yahweh is the true name of the God of Israel. Yahweh Shai is who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, but his one and only true name is Yahweh Shai. And pretty much, what you Hebrew Israelites need to understand is we're not indigenous Africans, meaning the land of Africa, it doesn't belong to us, all right? That's not, that's not our land. The scriptures tell you right there, and I'm going to read it again, that Jerusalem is the motherland, all right? What's our land? The land that was promised to Abraham, then it went down to Isaac, then it went down to Jacob. When you read Genesis chapter 15, verses 18 through 21, that's the promised land, all right? That's the promised land, not Africa. Now, our people, for the most part, you might bump into guys that they might be conscious, but they can't piece everything together. See, they might have knowledge of certain things, and to like a regular person, they might sound smart and intelligent, but when you're dealing with the brothers of Great Millstone and the brothers in general that learned from the apostles of Great Millstone, we're not going to think like you a deep guy, because you got to piece everything together, and our history goes beyond Africa, all right? So-called Africa. Because we know Africa was named after what? Leo Scipio Africanus, a white Roman general, all right? See, when you talk to the average so-called Negro, Hispanic, or Native American Indian, which are the true biblical Israelites, according to the Bible, see, the fathers, they can go back as Africa. You even got Hebrew Israelites that's like that. This is why we tell you not every Hebrew Israelite camp is the same. You have Hebrew Israelites that's under the 501c3 charter. You have Hebrew Israelites that are federal agents impersonating as, elders and chiefs and stuff of that nature. All right, and time will tell. Things will get exposed into the light. But for the most part, the righteous camp that you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians need to be watching is Great Millstone. We have the 100% truth. We give you the nastiness of the scriptures, as Apostle Tahar would say. All right? The truth, raw and uncut. Cut dry. Going to the secular history, we link it up with the scriptures. See, we're the camp of prophecy. We're the faith-based Israelites. When you read about our ancient forefathers, they had faith. That's what drove them to do the things that they did in the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. All right? Now, dealing with this 2019 thing, I'm not even going to go into it, but dealing with Genesis chapter 15, verses 13 and 14, the 400-year prophecy with dealing with Abraham, when it was saying that your seed is going to be afflicted 400 years. That's talking about Egypt. All right? That's talking about Egypt. Joseph, he was in Egypt for 30 years, and we wasn't in slavery. All right? But the 400 years happened when? When the children of Israel, we went into captivity under the Egyptians, because it was a new pharaoh at the time that didn't know Joseph. Not to mention Joseph had died. So it was a new pharaoh that rose up, and he was like, wait a minute. These people are becoming mighty. They're having a bunch of children all over the place, and then fearing that we would eventually overtake the Egyptians, he decided to have the children of Israel serve with rigor, as the scriptures say. All right? And that was the 400 years back then. So that prophecy was already fulfilled. Africa is not our motherland. You Israelites need to stop that. All right? Africa is not the motherland. The reason why we in Africa is because we were fleeing Roman persecution. That's how we fled into Africa. North, south, east, and west. Now, our people in Africa, yeah, the sea line of the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, yeah, we are in Africa. All right? Yeah, you got some of the seed of Jacob in Africa. But does that mean every person that's dark skinned or person of color, does that mean we all the same thing? No. All the nations had pigmentation, except for one nation, which is the Edomites, which is the so-called white race. All right? So before I even get into that, let me find this real quick. Page 84, the Babylon to Timbuktu. And this is why you need to learn this truth from the men of the Lord, which begins with the apostles of Great Millstone. All right, which really began with Abba Bivens and went down to Elder Yaquab, on down to High Priest Ariel, and King Marshall, on down to the apostles of Great Millstone, on down to brothers like myself. All right, so this is a book from Babylon to Timbuktu, and this guy, Rudolph R. Windsor, he knew that he was an Israelite. All right, so when you read this book, it has history in it. Now, this is from page 84 of Babylon and Timbuktu, right? So it says, temple, let me see, I'm going to just go to the second paragraph. It says, in the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus, because what did you have back then? You had the Flavian dynasty, which consisted of Vespasian, Titus, and Domitian. It says, in 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. And I'm going to read that in the scriptures, the siege of Jerusalem, that's recorded in the scriptures that Moses wrote about in Deuteronomy chapter 28. During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa. So this is how we got into Africa, okay? And it's going to explain why. Fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. The slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves, all right? This is how we got into Africa. See, the average conscious person that you're going to meet, they can't go before Africa. Who are we before Africa? They just want to stop at Africa. They think, everything is just dealing with Africa. It's not, all right? There's a reason why we was in Africa. So, let's get into the scriptures, all right? Because Africa is not the motherland. The 400-year prophecy, that happened already. We don't know when the Lord is coming back, but we measure the time diligently by how? By the signs he gave us in Matthew, the 24th chapter, 2nd Ezra, the 9th chapter, certain things that prophets prophesied about, such as Joel the prophet, Joel chapter 2, verses 30 through 31 with the blood moons, even John the Revelator, and Revelation chapter 6, verse 12. There's a bunch of things. Malachi chapter 4, verse 5 and 6. I will send you Elijah before the great and dreadful day of the Lord, which is talking about a man named Abba Bivens, if you can receive it. All right? There's a lot of things. The Lord even said in what? In Deuteronomy 28, and I believe it's 36, that you and your king is going to go into captivity, meaning King David was going to come back. And he did, as a man named King Marshall, if you can receive that as well. All right? So this is Galatians 4:26, but Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all. And this is referring to what? Us Hebrew Israelites, the seed line of the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. We make up the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. Jerusalem is our motherland, all right? The lands that was given unto our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Africa, we're not indigenous Africans, all right? We was just in Africa living there, fleeing Roman persecution. That's all there is to it. But our people, they lost that history. them generations that grew up, they forgot about that. But see, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and, call Allah Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, which means all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, he gave us the men that he endowed with the Holy Spirit, which the Holy Spirit is just the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, not an entity you worship, to teach us this understanding. So now we know the truth. Because a true indigenous African doesn't like a so-called Negro, doesn't like a so-called Hispanic or Native American Indian. What do they call us? A kata. Oh, you in the kata. I came here to America on plane. You came here on boat. I better than you. This is how they talk. This is how they look down upon us. Just look at their face, how they look at you. I've dealt with that. I've been in an elevator with nothing but Cushites, a family of Cushites. And they all just grinning at me and shit. They don't like, a true indigenous African doesn't like an Israelite. All right? This is what y'all have to understand. The 17 heathen nations, they don't like you. In the book of Psalms, the 83rd chapter, it goes into that. They all came together with one consent to what? Take the name of Israel out of remembrance. This is why we're not taught that we're Israelites in school. This is why you're not allowed to talk about religion and the Bible in school. Because they don't want you to know who you are. They want you to think that you were just born to get your ass kicked. That you're nothing but a nigga. You're nothing but a hoe and a bitch. You're a slave. That's all they want you to think. They don't want to tell you that we're the sons of God. That we're the daughters of Zion. They don't want to tell you that. All right? You so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, give up Africa. That's not your homeland. None of you would never want to go back there and live anyway. That's why a lot of our families, what do? They come over here. All right? They come over here to get a living. Y'all don't move back to Africa. Move back to Africa. If y'all think y'all African, move back to Africa. I guarantee y'all asses come right back. Even these black conscious dudes, they not living in Africa. Sarnetta and all them. Tell them to go move to Africa. Go live out there. Why you over here then? Since you think you're an African. So this is from the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. It says the youngest, this is dealing with Ham. All right? Because our people's under the illusion that Africa is the motherland. That's our culture. That's our way of life. And African is our God. That shit is false and it's wrong. And that shit pisses the God of Israel off. Just like the guy that you seen in the video with them fucking heathen dreadlocks. The Lord was pissed off seeing that. All right? The Lord is tired of his people publicly, just sinning like that. Kissing a damn statue. The Cushites sold the so-called Negroes into slavery, all right, to the Arabs. Then you had the Arab slave trade, which you had the Chinese people the Chinese, which is the so-called Chinese, which is the Moabites in the Bible. They had a hand in the slave trade because they used to call us something called Kulin, which is spelled Kunlun. Search that up. Kulin slave. Search that up. All right. Then you had the so-called white race, the Jewish people, right, which are really Edomites. They paid for the ships and brought us over here. What nation in history gonna sell their own nation into slavery? Use your damn brain, man. That shit don't even make sense. They knew that our customs was different, so they sold us. It was easy for them to distinguish. Oh, look at these people. Look at them. They got beards on their face. They wear the turbans. Look at the customs, the border of blue. Their customs is different from ours. Because if we was all African, then the whole continent of Africa would have went into slavery. You had a bulk of our people that went into slavery. Why? Because we're the people of the scriptures. We're the people that the God of Israel made a covenant with. It's very simple to understand. History backs this up. The Bible backs it up. It's very simple to understand. If you have common sense, when you was in school, you will make fun of an African if you was a so-called Negro. You might call them a name. You just knew that your spirit was different from them. I'm not saying every person that lives in Africa is a descendant of Ham, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the indigenous Africans that are the true descendants of Ham, that are Hamitic, we're not the same as them, all right? Because they're Hamites and we're Shemites. We're more related to the so-called white man than the African, because we're Shemitic. They're Hamitic, all right? So this is the definition of Ham from the Bible's Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. It says Ham, perhaps hot. That's what it means, because you know the Hamites, the true indigenous Africans, they're extremely dark-skinned. But you have some of our people that mix them with them, that have some of their features. It says the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood, he became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptian, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. All right? Not the Negroes. That's the point. We're not African. Africa is not the motherland. It's a lie. Exodus 11:7, but against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that ye may know how the Lord doeth put a difference between the Egyptians, right, the Hamites, and that whole seed line of Ham, and Israel. All right? It's a difference in our spirit. Very different. So now let's deal with this now that we got that out the way. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, because this is a curse that came upon the Israelites for breaking the old covenant. This is why we went into slavery. All right? Now, this is Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 25. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them. And that's what happened. Fleeing Roman persecution. Where did we flee into? Africa. Why? Because those people, they looked at similar to us, so we could blend in with them. All right? And then we started populating Africa, and we started, having sex with their women along with our women, and we became mighty to where a bulk of the slaves went through something called the Middle Passage, went into slavery. The first batch of slaves, mainly from West Africa. It says, thou shalt go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them. And that's what happened, fleeing Roman persecution. And shall be removed into all kingdoms of the earth. And what does that talk about? The transatlantic slave trade. All right? That's exactly what that's talking about. You had the transatlantic slave trade, you had the Arab slave trade. There's a bunch of slave trades that happened during that time. So that's what that's talking about. All right? And then when you read on, it goes into the siege of Jerusalem. When you read Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49 through like 50, like 57. All right, that's going into the siege of Jerusalem. How Titus had 60,000 Roman soldiers besiege Jerusalem to the point where they couldn't leave the land. They couldn't eat nor drink, so they had to eat their kids. This is Luke chapter 21, verse 20. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know the desolation thereof is nigh. And that's what happened under Titus. They got to a point where Titus, he had 500 Jews crucified a day. When I say Jews, I'm talking about you so-called Negroes. Crucified, just left the bodies out there to rot. Verse 21, then let them which are in Judea, and this is not a fake fictional story. Because there's something today called what? The Ark of Titus, which represented his victory over Jerusalem. So how can the Bible be a fake book? How can I be telling a lie? When I can read the Bible, something that was prophesied before that event even took place, and now today, what do you have to prove that that event happened? The Ark of Titus. It says, verse 21, then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains. And that's what we did. And let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto, for these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. Fulfilled in what? Deuteronomy chapter 28, for breaking the old covenant. We had to go into slavery. Verse 23, but woe unto them that are with child, And to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land and wrath upon his people. And that's what happened. Our people started eating their kids because Titus had the 60,000 soldiers besiege Jerusalem. Because you had Polite, he was like, oh, them Hebrews, they ate their babies. They ate their babies. Why did they do that? That's happened plenty of times in history. I'm not condoning that, but that's just an event that took place. Verse 24, it says, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and that's exactly what was going on, and shall be led away captive into all nations, the transatlantic slave trade. Boom. That's what happened to us. How could this be identified with any other nation on the planet? This is talking about us, the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. And Jerusalem, which Jerusalem is a people before it's a place. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And we're in the time where the time of the Gentiles is about to be fulfilled. Because what? 2 Ezra chapter 6, verse 9. Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Who the hell is Jacob? It's representing Yahweh's kingdom. That's getting ready to happen. So you hear about the global economic collapse and all these false flag attacks. Be happy. All right, be happy. You seen these so-called UFO sightings? Be happy. Because our salvation is nearer than what we believed, according to Romans 13 and 11. All right? Because Yahweh is going to come back by the way of the so-called UFOs to deliver the elect of the nation of Israel. And the kingdom of heaven is going to begin with us. All right? So hopefully, this was edifying. Look, Angola, that's not the homeland. All right? And y'all in for a rude ass awakening if Lord, hopefully it don't happen. But when 2020 comes and y'all still here in America, then I'm gonna do a video and I'm gonna say what happened to 2019. What happened to 2019? This 400-year prophecy shit. So hopefully this was edifying. You have a lot of Levites, that's in Angola. You do have a lot of Israelites in Angola. All right, but you also got Hamites that's mixed amongst them as well. Now, what's the sifter? The word. All right, the angels is going to sift. Who's a tear from the wheat. So hopefully this was edifying. Shalom.